Hello and welcome back. Let's talk about relationships. Not even just romantic. I'm talking about symbiotic relationships. Let's start out with my notes. The universe gives us challenging relationships to be able to select what you like from that relationship, in turn rejecting what didn't align or wasn't meant for you. Through series of selection, we narrow down our frequency of what you're trying to attract, in turn attracting what's actually meant for you, not such a wide scope. Now let me break that down. If you have the intention of, I love, so I want to love, this is your scope. It's very broad of what you're going to attract, because you're like a flame, moth to flames. So if you want love in your life, well, if you just want to love, you will attract many different moths to that flame, because that's such a broad. So even like within friendships, same thing. What do you want with inside that friendship? Oh, I just want to not be alone. Well, broad scope again. You're going to attract then all the moths, not the pink rosy maple moth, the specific moth that's going to flutter your fancy. So, if you're feeling hopeless about interpersonal relationships right now, just hear me on this. You're having a bunch of crappy ones right now, or you've had a bunch of crappy ones, to lead you to a vibrational frequency that of a lesser broad of a scope, a more narrow focus as to what you're trying to attract. But see, we don't realize this with the law of attraction sometimes. We forget that the law of attraction is still, it works with attracting people too. It's not just like attracting an opportunity or attracting a blessing. So if we have to be really specific with our intentions for manifestation when it comes to, let's say, a new moon and you're writing down an intention, it doesn't just say to be happy. Break it down. How do you obtain that happiness? And what's the first step? Because that is what you're able to obtain within that month of scope. And narrowing your focus like this gives you more of an attainable staircase to what it is you're trying to attract into your life. Because manifestation doesn't do anything without movement. So you do still need to move. And while you're moving, what's going to happen is you're going to run through more challenges to help you narrow the scope of what you're trying to attract. It's all a part of the journey to manifesting that one solitary intention you have about interpersonal relationships. So if you weren't really detailed in the beginning off the bat, then what's going to happen is the universe is going to bring you through situations so that you create rejection. You figure out what it is you reject in a relationship, so that when you eventually get to a point where you attract exactly who needs to be in your life, the friends, the romantic partner, the collaboration partner, whatever relationship. So you're not being punished. And there's still beyond hope for this intention of interpersonal relationships. Don't stop. If you stop, you put a halt on the process of narrowing your scope, giving you a more unique frequency identity, much like an IP address to a computer. So it closes down the avenues to get to you. And it in turn creates a protection bubble around you. because you've closed down all the broad scope. You've closed it down. There's only one way to enter your life. Isn't that great? But that only is going to happen through a series of rejection. This is your journey is curtailed to support you as long as you're maintaining the concept of the fact that you are on a self-growth, self-discovery journey. When we start to forget that, what happens is kind of what happened to me in my early 20s. I didn't know about this at all. So I just thought, everyone sucks. Meanwhile, I didn't recognize what it is I was putting out there. It was too broad. It was too wide. Also, my own needs to feel not alone. That's a problem. The universe needed to then send me through trials and tribulations where I was forced to accept being alone, which is great because we need that energy to be able to have healthy eye-to-eye, like eye-level, healthy relationships. Because when you need something from another person before you even meet them, you're not a fully empowered person. So you're filling each other in rather than adding together and creating a team. Like you both want to be full so that you can come together and do things to like create the reality together. Even as friends. Like, I don't want to be codependent in a friendship either. I want both of us to be able to take care of our own needs, but then support each other in times of stress or times of challenge or throughout the healing journey. You know, these are specific intentions I would like in my relationships. So what had to happen is I had to go through, because I didn't know that's what I wanted. You just say, I want a relationship, I want friends. But what about that? What do you want from those friendships? What do you want from that romantic relationship? What is the totality of this idea? And if you're not giving any more information to the universe, it's just going to bring you through trials and tribulations because you don't know. It's going to help you know. Personally, it led me to a place where I was like, alone, no friends, no partner at the time. And when I did meet my current partner, I was like, no, because I'm finally happy. I finally figured out how to support myself in a healthy way where I don't want to have a relationship where I feel like someone might take away from that. I got scared. I got nervous. So what it does for you though, is it creates a more of an obstacle to how you attain me in a relationship, friendship, or romantically. So I'm okay. I'm great. So you have to add something, right? Something that I don't already have. But if you take away, you're gone. And that was a lesson I didn't know until I went through what I went through in my early 20s. So what this is a lesson is about is be specific. But if you don't know how to be specific, you don't actually know these needs out of these interpersonal relationships, maybe A, don't have them yet, B, trials and tribulations. Either way, you're going to get to that end goal. You will manifest your intention. And you can't lose hope, though. That's the thing. If you pick the road, which is trials and tribulations, know that's because you didn't know, you weren't specific enough before. So this is a journey to help you become more specific. So know, going into that, maybe the first, second, even third situation isn't going to be your bestie or a romantic partner. You have to know that, because if you have a broad scope, the universe is going to try and get you to narrow your focus so that you only attract what actually aligns with who you are. So you don't have to keep, every time you let someone, keep cutting them out, setting up boundaries, cutting them out. No, because you're not attracting those people anymore. You're only attracting the people that align with you authentically, or will serve your life in a positive way, because that's the intention you now have. You don't have the intention of just not being alone, or I just want friends because I want to take cool pictures and laugh. Like, what is that? You can meet a bunch of people like that, but are they actually the true depths of what you need? Because nothing is frivolous in this life. Nothing. And as much as we want to pretend it is, it's not. Every decision, every choice, every thought, every harbored emotion, everything dictates and changes everything that's going to attract into your life. There's nothing frivolous. You can't just have a frivolous friendship. If it's not fueling you or filling you or doing anything positive to your life, then it's draining you. So if we don't know these concepts beforehand, the universe will teach them to us. Why? Because that's unconditional love. You're not getting punished for not knowing. You're being led. You're being guided. Yeah, you're going to go through some crap, maybe pick up some trauma that way, but we're meant to overcome, right? So even through all that, you overcome, gain a little wisdom, apply it, move on. My only advice is to be aware that you're going down this road of the trial and tribulation. You're acknowledging you don't know how to be specific enough in your intention of what you're trying to attract inside of a relationship, an interpersonal relationship. So know that you're going to go down the road of trials and tribulations. So be boundaried up. Be ready for that. Have your morals and values be strong. Step into that room empowered. You know what I mean? Like, take all the things that we've been talking about this entire channel and instill it into the time of tribulation. Because then you leave before you get super hurt. Because red flags are going to be popping up. Because you have the awareness. I didn't have the awareness. I didn't know what I was doing. I was blindly running through life just being like, it's frivolous. It's not. It's not. And that's what my journey specifically taught me, especially about relationships. A healthy interpersonal relationship also is symbiotic. You give and they give. It's equal give and take. And I'm not talking about like who's buying coffee next. That's not what I mean. Interpersonal symbiotic relationship, meaning like if I give you advice, you also can give me advice. Or if I need to vent, you also need to vent. Like, it's not just one-sided all the time. You both come together and you both support each other equally. Sometimes we get lost though, because we think what we want in a relationship is like power or like status. We don't realize that's what we're seeking. And then we have a relationship where we find that we meet a person that constantly wants to talk about the negatives in their life. Well, that's what happens. You attracted that because you want to be a savior, to validate your own traumas and your own experiences. You end up attracting people who are going through chaos so that your wisdom that you learned during your trauma can be validated if they use the wisdom and apply it to their life. Once again, what's the intention behind that friendship? Is it to validate your own experiences and your own journey that you went through, that it was worth it, all the trauma, because at least this person can, utilize the advice, but they never give it back. So eventually, when you've exhausted all your advice, and you've exhausted all your wisdom, what now? And it's not a sustainable relationship. A sustainable relationship would be symbiotic, because then you feed me, I feed you. You feed me, I feed you. Because it's great. I love giving advice with my friends and doing that kind of stuff, pointing out things that maybe they didn't notice, but yet they have the same type of wisdom to be able to do that back with me. And that was a long journey for me, because I was consistently in a space where I'd been through more trauma than the people that I was in front of, and I tried to pretend that didn't make me different, and I tried to just be like them and be in that, and I was always still left feeling alone, empty, and drained, and then people would always come to me for advice. I'd be working at a job. This is before I became a life coach. I'd be working at my job, and people would come up to me in the kitchen while I'm making food for the place, and they'd be like, I need advice on this, and this, like with my mom or like this or that. And I remember someone, and me at the time, thought that that was what friendship was. But yet, no, I didn't need them for anything. I wasn't gaining anything. Once they were done getting the advice, they moved on. They applied it in their life and did their things. So somebody came around the corner once and saw me like stressed out because I'm trying to balance doing my job and, like, in my opinion, helping friends. And the person said to me, I forget who it was, and he was like, "You should get paid for that." And it was that moment I realized what I was doing was a service. It wasn't a relationship. It wasn't a friendship. It was a service. And that's what we need to ask ourselves when we get inside of any relationship. Am I providing a service? Or am I just providing me authentically? And that in turn maybe sometimes services my friend, but also saying back to me, that person can serve me in a way. I can learn from them in a way. So we don't know that in the beginning, though. We don't know that before our journeys begin. We don't know that at whatever age. And we have to go through a series of brain-altering experiences to finally connect certain wires to make your overall frequency that of specific, very specific frequency. Because you don't need to be a service in a friendship. It's great, or in a romantic relationship. It's great that you can provide that, help each other out, if you needed something. But that's not the reason. That's not your value. That's not your worth within that relationship. And if we find ourselves in being of service, then you need to ask yourself, should I be getting paid for this? And that, honestly, that situation that had happened to me at my job and having that person bring that to my awareness has changed how I view when people come in my life. Once again, I needed that challenging, stressful experience to have that aha moment that person gave me about, you should be getting paid for this. So from that point on, I was able to narrow my focus even more about my relationships and compartmentalize my symbiotic friendships and romantic relationship with my working at service relationships. And being able to compartmentalize also narrows your scope. It narrows the avenue of how people interact with you and who you end up attracting as well. And so having that differentiation, that compartmentalization, that sticks in I ask that to myself often now. Is this something I should be getting paid for? Because it's not a matter of sending someone an invoice. No, it's for me to realize and recollect that I'm overstepping my bounds here. This is not an equal relationship right now, or a friendship. This is not symbiotic. This is not pouring back into me in any type of way. So having that question be a newly wired neural pathway has helped me differentiate and compartmentalize my relationships. So I had to have the experiences I did to have the awareness of how I'm vibrating and emanating a frequency now. So I think that's a great question for us all to ask ourselves, because I believe if you have to do any kind of like brain work or any kind of like get frustrated or it's difficult, or it's just like you have to like use more brain power or energy than you have really to give, then you need to get paid for that. Even in a friendship. That's what I'm saying. That's what helps you realize that that's not actually a friendship, because it's actually something that's a service. So ask yourself that next time. Is this equal? Am I enjoying this as much as they're enjoying it? Am I gaining from this just as much as they're gaining from me? Because if they're not, if they're just gaining from you, what are you gaining? And if it's not energy or love or reciprocation of validation, then it needs to be what's going to help feed you. Give me some money then so I can go get food. And I'm not going to ask that to the whoever, this new person or whatever. I'm not going to say that out loud, but I am going to make a note of it. Okay, we're not going to hang out again because this was transactional to me. And I don't want to keep score of equal transaction. Like, that's too much work. You should be getting paid for that too. That's the point. So, and then going into like romantic relationships, same thing. You need to narrow that scope. If you're full of love, guess what? A lot of broken, manipulative, and narcissistic people also want your love, right? And we having, let's say, such pure intention of just loving others, we're not thinking about that. We're not thinking about attracting crusty moths because we just assume, because of who we are, we're going to attract someone who sees us how we see us. But in reality, we're vibrating at such it's too broad. I love, so I deserve love. It's so true. It's so true. But that's just too vague. It's just too vague. The universe needs more info. And we don't know until trials and tribulations. And that's okay. That's fine. Because it finally gets you to a point where you're like, I'm good. I don't need anybody. I don't. So when I'm having this interaction, I'm humbled. I'm not falling off the deep end. I'm not throwing on rosy colored glasses. I'm not glamorizing it in any way. I'm seeing it for the raw, authentic situation that it is. That's that detachment that we need. It's not bad to be detached. It's good. You can observe and make your notes, check your red flags. And that's why the universe will give us multitudes of these situations, because through multitude of selection is also rejection, and vice versa. What you're pushing away, and the more you select and in turn reject, the narrower that avenue is to get to you. You're still full of love. You still have all the love to give. You still deserve love. However, you're making it harder for every moth to get to you. You're making it so that specific rosy maple moth finds you because you made the conditions for it. You've built the conditions for the rosy maple moth. You got the food it likes, you got the water, you got the environment for it, whatever, because that's you. You're vibrating at that frequency of what you want to attract. That's another thing too. We need to be that of what we want to attract. I'm not saying you're going to attract another you and you're just like dating yourself. No, but if you have certain values and certain respects about yourself, you're going to attract somebody who shares in those values. So we have to watch out for our shadow sides too, the things that we suppress about ourselves that maybe we don't really, that we find unfavorable. This is why it's so important to accept all of you in an authentic self, because it doesn't matter if you have unfavorable qualities, or stuff that you want to work on. It doesn't matter if you've accepted that that's something you want to work on. If you've shunned it, then you're going to attract somebody who may have the potential to shun you, shun themselves. It's the energy. So, but when you accept yourself in totality, you're like, yeah, I know I'm working on A, B, and C. I know I got stuff I still got to do. That's the self-mastery journey. Once you stop learning, you start dying. So I'm never going to end progressing myself. Even though, because now it doesn't matter what you got lingering in here and in here, because you are of totality of acceptance, which is empowerment, which is authentic, which is confidence right there. Even though you're struggling with things, it doesn't matter because you've accepted them all. You're emanating a frequency of, I am who I am. I'm always going to be working on myself. I'm my biggest and most loved project of my life. So now when you attract somebody, they're going to respect that about you. They're going to maybe even give you the space you need, or maybe they'll also be on that journey and you guys can facilitate it together. But when we shun aspects of ourselves or hate aspects of ourselves or just don't show unconditional love to all aspects of who we are, you will attract somebody who will also have hidden things like that. Or victimize you and your hidden things and manipulate. It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous because even though you're not saying it out loud, any of the insecurities that you might have or the things you're worried about, you're not saying it out loud, but it's the frequency of what you're going to attract. So if you want that rosy maple moth, and you love that rosy maple moth, you have to love yourself first in totality, because it'll set up this energy protection bubble and this narrow avenue of how to get to you, because you're honest, you're authentic, and you got nothing to hide. And that eliminates like 75% of the population. Let's be real. So even just that alone, being authentic and accepting yourself fully, narrows that scope. It's a lot, but that's the point of this journey, is that we'll keep going through trials and tribulations to help us seek that self-love, to help us with that self-acceptance, to help us urge along the self-mastery journey. All of this is for you. So, and that's the highest potential we're talking about, because if you overcome and you keep working on yourself and working with yourself, you will eventually reach that highest potential. And you don't necessarily have to wait till you're at your highest potential to attract a friendship or a romantic partner. No, I'm not saying that. But do you accept all of you? Are you authentic with you? Do you love you? Do you lie ever? Because like right then and there, I don't even know if I know how to lie anymore, because I am tired of liars. So I'm not going to vibrate at the frequency of lying, because then I'm going to attract liars. And there's already enough. So many out here. So I have to hold myself accountable to a higher standard of living, because that's what I want to attract into my life. Someone who's honest and authentic in who they are, loud and proud. So what does that mean that I have to be? Authentic, honest, loud and proud. Right. So it's about embodying energy, yes, but it's also, you're only embodying these energies because you're going through the trials and tribulations, and it's bringing you to this overall self-acceptance. It's bringing you to recognizing all of your patchwork quilt swatches and putting it together into one quilt. And then you're like, damn, look at that. I'm proud of that quilt. Even though it's got jagged edges and it's not finished yet, it doesn't matter. Look what I've created. And that confidence radiates and narrows the scope of who finds you. It's great. It's great, because that's the energy of, I love everyone, but I also will bark at you. Right? That's that energy. Like, how do I explain that better? Like, I love everyone, but at the same time, people, without me even having to say it, they know to kind of like give me space, give me respect, which is great. I don't have to say anything. I'm not fighting for it. It's just because I respect me. And I've noticed just that change, that self-acceptance and that self-respect has weeded out like 35% to 75% of people out of my life. Isn't that amazing? And then when you walk into a situation, when last time maybe like 5 dudes would be getting their eyes on you, undressing you, now you got like none, or maybe 1, because the energy you're emitting is that of, I'm good. Your ploy here to try to get me to lock eye contact with you ain't gonna work. And if it does, I'm gonna bark at you. So that's the difference. Like, and that's why we can't shun or be upset with any part of our own personal journey, because it's just fine-tuning you into the frequency you need to be to attract what you actually truly deserve, to match the purity of intention in that heart, to match that soul, that loving soul. So we have to, and you're not supposed to get hardened by this. This is supposed to teach you boundaries. It's supposed to teach you discernment. It's supposed to teach you self-acceptance and things of that nature. This is to just teach you. So if we go through the lessons and take the wisdom and apply it every time, then the next lesson is only that of bringing you closer to your end goal. So apply and accept. Next one is once again moving you closer. It's interesting, right? It's so interesting. Like we forget these things, we feel it, but we don't like understand it sometimes. Like if you're in a situation and you're like, oh wow, yeah, that sounded great, and you're just like kind of faking a conversation, you're feeling it. This is not aligning with you. And we people please. We go to the video about people pleasing because you'll see how people pleasing is a disservice to all of humanity. Because now that person ain't finding the relationship that they actually need. And so are you, not finding the relationship you actually need. So you're people pleasing so you don't cause disruption. But guess what? You're causing disruption in the evolution of all of humanity as a species. So who are you helping? Oh, I didn't want to feel uncomfortable. I didn't want to insult anyone and feel uncomfortable. Well, don't feel uncomfortable, and it's their choice to be insulted. Don't be a dick, but also, you don't have to pretend. You don't have to placate. Placating is the killer of our species. That's what's going to kill us all. It's going to wipe us out, extinct us. We need to keep pushing on. We need to keep getting this right. We need to keep vibrating at our authentic frequencies and attracting the symbiotic, interpersonal relationships that are meant for our souls. That's why you got to be authentic. That's why you can never lie. Not only so you don't attract liars, but also you're confusing the universe about who you are. Even if it's just this tiny little white lie, you've already knocked yourself off the path so hard that you're going to have to go through a trial and tribulation to get back on it. Just because you white lied. Just because you wanted to fit in. Just because you didn't want to rock the boat. It's the salvation of your soul we're talking about. It's the growth of you that we're talking about. So it's not worth it. You can't afford to not be authentic. You can't afford to lie and fake and placate. You can't. Because you got to narrow your scope. You got to attract what's actually meant for you. You got a bigger goal here. You've got a life to build. And that's super important. And also, not only is it your life, you're enhancing the evolution of our species by accepting your true form, right? Got to accept that true form because that also helps in our relationships. It just does. Yeah, you might be alone for a while, but hey, I'd rather be alone than keep paying people with my energy. What's up with that? Why are they more important than me? Because I'm lonely? Get over it. Do a puzzle. Make an online friend, you know? When I was like at my lowest, super lonely, had like nobody, I like met a friend online. She lives in Britain. And we still keep in touch to this day. Like, love that. And she's a healthy, good, symbiotic friend to have. Do I ever need, I will hope that I meet her in real life one day. But if I don't, it doesn't matter. Because we still are supplying each other with this fulfilling, symbiotic, interpersonal relationship. And it comes from both of us being raw and authentic. Because that's how our relationship started us. Was like the bonding of the rawness. Yeah. So don't give up. There's like billions of people in the world. And we have technology. So like, if you get lonely, don't drink poison just because you're thirsty. There are other options. Maintain the path you're on because it's test. Don't detour. Don't detour. Maintain it. Prove to the universe you are this authentic being and prove what you deserve from that by narrowing the scope and keep selecting to reject. Because then when you do attract, those relationships, man, are the solid ones. So, don't ever give up. Remember, this is all, it's all a construct. Everything's constructs to get this to be wired in the way that matches the soul. It's not going to match it, but I mean in the way that's going to create a safe space reality for the soul. And it's going to create a fulfilling reality for the soul. It's going to create with the soul in mind. That's the point. But when we were programmed before, we were programmed by others without our souls in mind. They don't know our souls. Once we start to get older and we start to pick up on that inner voice, that inner observer, it's up to us to keep it a part of what we're creating. But the universe is going to help us deprogram those original programs through trials and tribulations to get you to be wired in a way that supports your soul and creates a reality that supports your authentic self. All right. That was fun. I hope you guys feel empowered and motivated to keep going. Keep pushing past these tests and trials and just recognizing that it's all for you. It's just helping you. It's creating a different program for you so that you can download your soul into it, and integrate and live prosperously. I love you guys. You're awesome. Be the most authentic you can. Remember, it's free will. It's a choice to not be authentic.